Greetings, TheWarOwl greets you. Now, we've talked a lot about the death of Dust 2, so now let's talk about the birth of New Inferno. Dreamhack Las Vegas 2017 was the first tournament to feature the new map. So I took the time to go through all 4 times it was played so we can examine how the top teams in the world played the map. Unfortunately, it was not picked in the finals or the semifinals. It's too risky to pick a new map to the map pool in that kind of a situation, so we'll have to settle for these teams. I also wanted to look at balance, retakes, and patterns in player positioning to see how the new positions were played. Right off the bat, overall, I think the map played well. There was just a little bit of differences in nuance on the different positions that were changed. But some things never change. Close-range weapons like shotguns and CZs are still very popular and useful on Inferno, despite the wider, less cluttered passageways. The new UMP meta that's been going around was shaken up a little bit on this map with some other cheap weapons like the MAC-10s or the MAG-7s. CT aggression on Inferno was a good risk-reward scenario. I noticed professional teams tended to try to pull this off on anti-eco rounds in particular, which is similar to how the map was played before its makeover. Eco rounds themselves on the T side had a good balance of attempts and success for rush plays, as well as sneaky-beaky move around the map and pick people off plays. Sometimes a team would run directly into their death. From the new cleaned-up visibility and angles, I would think a strategy like this would work a little bit more on the new Inferno. So sometimes they would miraculously power through, steal the weapons, and give themselves a good chance to do something. There's your risk-reward once again. Pistol buys on the CT side are also very possible to win. Here we see some Desert Eagle action, still a very strong defensive equalizer. Some say pistols OP. Some say they add variety. We're not here to talk about that, we're here to talk about Inferno. And for people complaining about this spot in particular, here it is used for a retake as well. This has made this area a little bit more CT-sided, let's be honest here. One very positive thing I noticed about how professionals played the map was how they constantly switched up their positions. Poor map design in Counter-Strike has players playing the same very useful spots over and over again. Good map design gives the CTs choices and allows them to mix it up, so every round is unique. It's better to remain unpredictable as a defender and an attacker. All warfare is deception, and I think the new Inferno still allows players to do this. One position I was worried about in this regard was the new pit. Because of the awkward angles and how open it is, I assumed pros wouldn't even try to play up close, playing against the back wall because the position isn't exposed by players pushing through arches, making it a predictable position. As a viewer, I don't want to just see the same smoke and Molotov combo on that spot every single round because of how powerful the spot is and because of how predictable it is. Surprisingly, pros switched up their pit position depending upon whether they had control of arch or not, and depended upon if they were using a more close-range weapon. The removal of the gap to watch porch was also lovely. That spot was just plain stupid. IMHO. Please mind the gap. I liked the removal of these stupid spots, and it definitely showed in the gameplay, such as the new box gap. However, we did see the inclusion of another stupid spot that was used to devastating effect. Without throwing a very complicated Molotov, there's really no way to shut down a crossfire here. I don't know if this spot has a name yet. I'm gonna call it Flowers. I'll leave this question open-ended to you guys inside of the comments. Should this spot be removed? Personally, I don't like it. I think it was added to emulate boosting players up into the tree. A lot of the new Inferno seems to be trying to make it more like older versions of the map as well. Banana is probably the most controversial change to the map, so I expected the position to be played somewhat differently at the pro level. One thing we did see here that was a little bit different were these crazy wall bangs. I really like this wall and how it was used. Global Offensive in particular suffers from a lack of wall bangable positions. The ones that are wall bangable are very obvious that they are. It's sort of denoted by wood, like you need to wall bang here. And I don't know, I like this kind of a spot. I think it adds a little bit more nuance and skill to the gameplay. Notice how players now hold this new position. They stand further back and they watch the top of the wall for peekers. Overall, playing an AWP player on Banana on the CT side was still a popular choice. In fact, I saw a few times where the CT side decided to do a double AWP play. As expected, the AWP wasn't as important for the T side. Sometimes we'd have a single AWP play, and most of the time we just had no AWPs on the T side at all. Of course, this may be because the terrorists never really got enough money to buy AWPs. But could teams still hold Banana with a single player, without the ability to re-smoke the position from across the map due to the closed-off skybox? The reformed old new Fnatic, or whatever you want to call it, the Swedish Dream Team, a team renowned for their old Inferno play, tended to do a two-man hold on B unless they were on an anti-eco where they'd put 3 players there and sometimes push down. Gambit and Astralis had a different method that they both used. Keep in mind, Gambit proudly declared that Inferno was their map. They did 3-man holds early on, especially on anti-eco, or a 2-man hold early on, and then rotating a player away to leave a single player to hold the position. This wasn't what was expected to be the meta when the map was originally announced. What will eventually become the meta for Banana, I think is still up in the air, but this tournament did show that a 1-man hold on Banana was still possible, and that playing Banana how teams used to still was a thing. CT players had lots of movement, different rotates, trying to feel out the T side and position themselves properly for an eventual take, or even pushing out and taking certain positions. This gives the map life, and I think it was very positive. But let's look at a common concern. Map balance. This is a topic I think is talked about way too much when we talk about Counter-Strike maps. Maps in Counter-Strike don't have to be perfectly balanced for attackers and defenders to be a good map. You get to play both sides, so no matter what the balance is, it'll be a fair competitive experience. But a natural defender's advantage, I think, would be good for the flow of gameplay. However, maps that are particularly CT-sided can be boring to both watch and play, such as the old Nuke and the old Train. Those maps clearly had problems in this respect. In the tournament, 46 rounds were won by the terrorists, compared to 69 by the counter-terrorists. The sixth number. That's exactly 2/3 in favor of the CT side, or shooting for a 9-6 half. This would make Inferno as CT-sided as old Nuke and old Train, and it would constitute a problem. But I don't believe this is large enough of a sample size to determine sidedness and to just declare, yes, it is too CT-sided, this is a problem. Because we also have to consider that teams do not play all 30 rounds, and in 2 of the 4 matches on Inferno, the teams that started CT-side absolutely destroyed their competition. We also have to consider that professionals haven't played the map yet as much at this level. Interestingly, in the only overtime rounds, the map skewed very terrorist-sided. However, I think we can all agree that being too CT-sided is something we need to keep an eye on. When the new Inferno was released, I thought it was going to skew more terrorist-sided than the previous version because it was more difficult to do that smoke delay meta that was so common previously. Also, with the wider passageways, I thought it would be easier for terrorists to push positions. They wouldn't get bottlenecked as easily. That didn't happen. One factor I wanted to look at in particular was how easy it was for teams to execute a proper retake, which I look at as a very good thing. In this tournament, in over 115 rounds played, there were 14 defusal wins, or 12% of rounds. That's actually a lot in comparison. I believe that opening up the map and getting rid of the stupid spots and the gaps help make retakes far more possible, which could possibly lend to the map being more CT-sided. Inferno has evolved. It does what they set out to accomplish. They removed some of the stupid spots, they cleaned up the angles, they removed the claustrophobic feel of the map. Overall, I think it is an improved map, and they did all of this while maintaining what made the original so great. I don't know if I can say the same thing for the revamped Nuke or the revamped Train. Not saying they're bad maps, but Inferno really feels like they maintained the unique personality of the map in this remake, so time will tell if it's horribly CT-sided or not. Keep in mind that the sidedness can change dramatically over time as new tactics are developed, as better teams play it. I think we were all originally expecting, or at least I was expecting it, to be terrorist-sided after the rework, after looking at the specific changes they made to Banana. That didn't happen. I've seen that happening at lower level games and some of the games that I've played in, where it just goes a little bit more T-sided than you would expect. But at the top pro level, didn't happen. It went CT-sided. But again, small sample size, anything could happen. I think most Counter-Strike gamers at this point are just happy to have it back in the competitive map pool. We can watch it again, we can enjoy it, we can forget that Dust 2 ever existed. Inferno, you know, it's another one of those really classic old school maps. It is a map that elicits an emotional response from us Counter-Strike gamers who have been watching esports for so long and who have been playing on these maps for years and years of our time. Thank you folks very much for watching. I am TheWarOwl, and I still have no closer. Hey guys, remember when I used to make lots of YouTube videos like it was my job? Ow! Ow, that hurt my jaw for some reason.